today. Sam Goodman. Really fucking scary stories. We're here. We did it. Thank you for joining us today. This is the official episode 1 of season 3 of Really Fucking Scary Stories. Man, season 2 was absolutely epic. I hope you enjoyed all the pre-season stuff that we brought you kind of in between. I hope that it was really fucking scary and it wet your whistle. It got you ready for the official beginning of season 3. But before we dive into today's episode, do me a favor, head over to www.palehorsemedia.co. We're coming to you from the Pale Horse Media Co-studio here in the sunny, in the beautiful, in the spooky downtown Phoenix, Arizona. If you head on over to www.palehorsemedia.co, you can find stuff from this podcast, all of our others, like Hey Y'all with Sam Goodman and the Hop Nerd Podcast. We have all kinds of cool stuff cooking over there at any given time. If you want to show some love for Pale Horse Media Co., for Really Fucking Scary Stories, for the Hop Nerd, for Hey Y'all with Sam Goodman, we have an awesome merch store over there, and that is an excellent way to show your love for all things true crime, all things paranormal, and rock some merch from the show. Your support quite literally helps keep the lights on around here. It quite literally helps us continue to bring you this content. If you don't want a t-shirt, if you don't want a hat, if that's not your thing, just scroll on down. Give us a review. That helps us just as much. So if you're looking for a way to show us a little bit of love, there's a few ways you can do that. Again, you can head over to the merch store at palehorsemedia.co. You can scroll on down. You can give us some stars. You can write us a review. You can head on over to the website. You can check out some of the books, some of the other stuff that we have over there. Or you can just take this link and share it over on your Facebook. Just copy that little link from the podcast, share it over on Facebook, share it over on your Instagram, share it on your LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. I hang out on there. It's quite a bit of fun. Tell your friends about us. Tell your family about us. Let your freak flag fly. Don't hide in the shadows with your love of all things true crime, all things paranormal. Let the world know that you're a true crime and paranormal junkie, and a Really Fucking Scary Stories is where you get your fix. Once again, thank you for joining us today. I am pumped because today we're telling the true and really fucking scary story behind the movie, The Conjuring. The Conjuring was released in 2013 and was met with critical acclaim. Critics everywhere praised it for its hyper-realistic portrayal of demonic hauntings of an innocent family in Rhode Island. So we talked about the Enfield poltergeist, the Enfield haunting a while back, and Ed and Lorraine Warren tie into that obviously as well, and so does The Conjuring. But today what we're going to dive down into is this one, is the Perron family. And before we get too far into this, I just want to say that I fucking love The Conjuring, and you probably do too. That movie was just one of those ones that just left you tingly. It just left you going, what the fuck? I don't scare easily, and I'll throw that out there. I don't get creeped out. I don't get the crawlies very easily. I don't get the skin tinglies very easily. But I think I slept with the light on for at least a month after watching that. It was just an amazing and intense movie. And I go back and watch it. I need to go back and watch it again. It's been a minute, so I will say that. But I need to go back and actually watch that one again because it was just epic. I mean, just absolutely awesome. So do me a favor, let me know. Head over to the websites, head over to palehorsemedia.co, slide into that little handy dandy contact form, and let me know what you thought about The Conjuring. I would love to hear your stories about it. But what we want to talk about today is the true story behind the film. So the film, The Conjuring, focuses on the Perron family. In January 1971, the Perron family moved into a 14-room farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island, where Carolyn, Roger, and their 5 daughters began to notice strange things happening almost immediately after they moved in. So, we're going to go live in this freaking massive 14 freaking bedroom in this massive farmhouse, and I'm just closing my eyes and imagining Harrisville, Rhode Island. I would assume that it's probably really beautiful there. I would think so. Just from what I know of Rhode Island, I would assume that it is pretty gorgeous. And so we're going to live in this 14-room farmhouse. It's going to be awesome. We got all this room, and then shit starts going bump in the night. It started small. Carolyn would notice that her broom would go missing, or seemed to move from place to place on its own. And I think I do that. I like put something down and be like, well, how the fuck did you get over here? But this happened enough to where she's starting to go, okay, this is weird. I specifically remember putting the broom here, and now it's like in the garage. It's somewhere else. She would hear sounds that sounded like something scraping against a kettle in the kitchen when no one was in the house. She would find small piles of dirt in the center of a newly cleaned kitchen floor. So this something, whatever this is clearly attracted to the kitchen, likes the broom, likes the dirt, likes banging on the pots and pans. So I don't know, like something might be in the fucking kitchen. The girls begin to notice spirits around the house, though for the most part, they seem to be harmless. But then they started to notice a few that seemed to be a little angrier. Carolyn allegedly researched the history of the farm home and discovered that it had been in the same family for over 8 generations, and that many of them had died under mysterious or horrible circumstances. Several of the children had drowned in a nearby creek. One was murdered. A few of them even hanged themselves in the attic. It's not hung, it is hanged. They hanged themselves in the attic. The spirit that was depicted in the film, Bathsheba, was the worst of them all. So shit is starting to get a little scarier. Again, let's go back. It started with just like, okay, where the fuck's my broom at? Oh shit, where'd this pile of dirt come from? Oh, nobody's here. Who the fuck is banging and scraping on the kettles and pots in the kitchen? Shit's just getting kind of strange, and then we kind of noticed that maybe this might not be so nice. Or the girls started noticing some spirits that just seemed to be kind of benign, and then they come across this Bathsheba, there we go, that might not be so great. And Andrea Perrin, the oldest of the 5 girls, said, whoever the spirit was, she perceived herself to be the mistress of the house, and she resented the competition my mother posed for that position. So, not good. There's there's a serious female energy clash happening here between Bathsheba and I guess the actual living mistress of the home. It turns out that there was actually a real person named Bathsheba Sherman who lived on the parents' property in the mid-1800s. She was rumored to have been a Satanist, and there was evidence that she had been involved in the death of a neighbor's child. Though no trial ever took place, she was buried in the nearby Baptist cemetery in downtown Harrisville. The parents believed that it was Bathsheba's spirit that was tormenting them. According to Andrea, again the oldest of the 5 girls, the family experienced other spirits as well that smelled like rotting flesh and would cause beds to rise off the floor, so some levitations of the mattresses and the beds floating around. She claims her father would enter the basement and feel a cold, stinking presence behind him. They often stayed away from the dirt-floored cellar, but the heating equipment would often fail mysteriously, causing Roger to have to venture down. So it's like, yeah, you're not going to avoid us. What's this? Ka-plunk. He had no heat, Rhode Island. Yeah, you're going to go fix that. You're going to come on in here and hang out with us. So Roger would have to head on down there and experience that cold, stinky whatever that liked to creep up behind him. Over the 10 years that the family lived in the house, the Warrens made multiple trips to investigate. At one point, Lorraine conducted a seance to attempt to contact the spirits that were possessing the family. During the seance, Carolyn Perrin became possessed, speaking in tongues and rising from the ground in her chair. So levitating in her chair. I'd be like, what the fuck? And then get out of there. But Ed and Lorraine Warren, I don't think that was probably the first time that they had seen that. And we didn't really touch. I just drew a really broad assumption here that if you're hanging out listening to really fucking scary stories, you probably at least know of Ed and Lorraine Warren. You probably heard that. If you watched The Conjuring, you know of them pretty obviously. And if you don't, you should definitely go Google them. But again, I would assume that you'd probably know who they are. But Ed Warren was a World War II veteran, former police officer who became a self-professed demonologist. After studying the subject on his own, his wife Lorraine claimed to be clairvoyant and a medium who was capable of communicating with the demons that Ed discovered. So they were super duper famous paranormal researchers. In 1952, Ed and Lorraine founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, the oldest ghost hunting group in New England. They quickly gained notoriety, and they were extremely well respected paranormal investigators. And their initial investigations were the Amityville hauntings. So maybe we'll talk about that one. Let's just see what happens this season. But Ed and Lorraine Warren, two of the most respected paranormal investigators of all times. Two of their most famous cases were heavily popularized by the Conjuring franchise. As we said, we talked about the Enfield poltergeist before, and that was part of the Conjuring franchise, and now we're diving into this. So I wanted to, I know a little side rant, kind of fanboying over Ed and Lorraine Warren there, but in case you didn't know who we were talking about, if you're new to this whole paranormal shtick, into this new paranormal game, now you know, and that was just a little bit. So again, you should go Google, go check that out. But back to the story. Andrea claims to have secretly witnessed the seance that we were just talking about kind of before we cut to the Ed and Lorraine rant there. But this is like mom floating in the chair, right, becoming possessed. The oldest of the five girls, Andrea, claimed to have witnessed this seance, and she said this: "I thought I was going to pass out. My mother began to speak a language that is not of this world in a voice that was not her own. Her chair levitated, and she was thrown across the room." So, what? You think like being a kid and you're like, what the fuck was that? Like, what the fuck just happened? So the movie version of events culminates with Ed performing an exorcism rather than the seance. Lorraine insists that she and her husband would have never attempted one, as they must be performed by Catholic priests. So look, again, Ed and Lorraine, like, not performing exorcisms. We're not priests. That's not our shtick. That's not our thing. But we can do a seance up in this bitch. That's what we're going to do. So after the seance, Roger kicked the Warrens out, worried about his wife's mental stability. According to Andrea, the family continued to live in the house due to financial instability until they were able to move in 1980, at which point the spirits were silenced and the hauntings ceased. Wow. Right? Wow. So as you go back, and hopefully you do, because I'm going to go back and I'm going to rewatch The Conjuring. But mind fuckery right there, right? Mind fuckery. Just insane. And what a horrible position to be in. Just put yourself in that position of being in this house, and I'm just certain, right? You're moving into this massive farmhouse, and you're probably super pumped, right? We've all probably moved into a place at some point, and we're like, yeah, this is going to be so cool. This is so awesome. This is maybe too good to be true. And then you get there, and then all that crazy shit starts happening, and then at first the spirits are all kind of like, hey, we're cool spirits. We like hanging out with you. This is going to be fun. And then you meet this fucking crazy witch, Bathsheba, and then shit starts to get real. She might be a little bit more of the not-so-kind variety, maybe a demonic presence or a witch, as we said, or something. There's all kinds of opinions out there on what she actually was, or it actually was. But then to kind of find yourself stuck in that position, you're stuck, right, due to financial, and we could probably all relate to that. Like, I just moved in, I can't move out, like, it's going to take me some time. Like, I just bought this freaking house, or I'm renting this house, and now I'm stuck here. So they ultimately spent 10 years in that house, and over time, as we said, they gradually started unraveling the history of all the previous inhabitants that ultimately had most of them had drawn their last breath in that house. So they had a lot of grim findings. So I don't know if I would find comfort in digging into that, or just being like, not gonna look there, not gonna look there, not So a lot of strange shit, a lot of strange shit, a lot of really fucking scary shit. Because when you couple those kind of weird things happening, then the presence of the spirits, the strange smells, kind of all of that stuff, the random crap moving around, the random piles of dirt, just all the experiences that the family had in real life, right? In real life. And then you look back into the history, and it all lines up. From, the kids that hung themselves, or the people that hung themselves in the attic, to the children that were drowned, the one that was murdered, just, So that's the real life story behind The Conjuring. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Again, head over to www.palehorsemedia.co. Did they fake it? Was it real? Who knows?